This underway. Ray, guess what? We get to do a test today.
What's that? Oh, nice. Magic Mind. You should have taken it like 20 minutes before the show.
Well, I got to take it now so that everybody knows that I'm on it for today. So if I took it before, you just have to trust that I'm on it. I'm going to take it live on camera so that we can get full.
So we could watch you
We can watch all of it happen.
Bleed from your ears and throw up everywhere.
But do so very. Shut up, Jim. That's our sponsor. Be nice. I'm over here broke. I'm trying to get some money. Chasing away all my my sponsors. This is going to be fun. We're gonna take a Magic Mind, the new sponsor to the podcast right here, Magic Mind. We're gonna take one live on air.
Don't forget to send me some.
I will send you some. I have a small box. I got you want 2 of them?
Sure.
Okay. I think I have your address. Well,
what does it taste like?
I'll tell you in a second. Down the hatch, Magic Mind. Here you go. Right here. Magic Mind. Down the hatch. Off we go. The taste is a little bit interesting, we'll say. It's not subtly sweet.
Try to be positive.
It says right on there. It says third line down. It says subtly sweet. I don't see that. It's not as bad, honestly, as I thought it was going to be. We're gonna find out.
Now we just gotta see
to kick in.
how effective it is.
Watch him fall asleep in about 5 minutes. Focus.
Shut up, Jim. Shut up, Jim. We're ready to go. We got Magic Mind. Magic Mind. We're going to be so much better today.
It's kind of funny that both of my epic online rants this year have been about the Moscone Cup, and I've been on this podcast, so I just want to appreciate that. Maybe we can submit both rants for rant of the year, see which one was better.
You'll get in the top 3 with both of them, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sensei Nate, what's up, pal?
So I guess, what do you think, Jim? How was your week? How was your weekend? Do anything fun?
I've been sick all weekend.
You've been sick all weekend?
Yeah. I've been basically sick since I got back from London. Filthy city.
I haven't been. I've been lucky. I haven't gotten sick now in over a year, and I was just expecting to get just killed after coming back from the Moscone Cup, but I feel just fine. Kind of nice.
I hate London.
I hate London. How have you been, Ray? How was your weekend?
We're going to talk about improvements. That's one of the improvements that they should make. It's Europe. Let's go somewhere else in the summertime. And it's nice and warm. It's not pissing with rain when we come out of the venue and all cold and -10. Let's go to Spain. Something like that.
Oh, I can't argue with that.
Let's take the Moscone out of the UK.
I will say, I think if I go forward with the Moscone Cup, people keep asking me how it was, how was London for the Moscone Cup? And I'm to the point now where I think I've been to London too many times. It's one of those things where it's like I just find myself doing the same things I do every time now. I don't do anything new, and I've been there. I think this is my 6th time, so I just I have 7 or 8 things that I do now in London. I just do them every time I go there, and obviously I'm doing them because I enjoy doing them, and it's a lot of fun. But it's one thing to go to Chicago or to Milwaukee or something like that, somewhere within a couple hours drives of me, and do the same thing over and over again. It's another thing to probably jump on a plane and go 8 hours away just to do the same things over and over again. So I think
you got to make time to explore new things. There's a lot of things to see in London. London's a great time.
Yeah, there is. And with the train system, it's really easy to get anywhere you want. So either I need to
as well.
Yeah, well, that's the goal, isn't it? So I think going forward, I'm gonna really need to either make myself go out and do new things, or probably just go into Dublin or somewhere else and just fly into London the morning of the Moscone Cup. I don't know, one of those things. But
yeah, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. It's always fun going over there for the Moscone Cup. It's a little bit better when we have more than 3 matches a day, though. That's a little bit more rough. But I don't want to get Ray on another bender, so we won't talk about that. If anybody checked into last week, it was quite the conversation. So I guess why don't we just jump in? Today we're going to be talking about the fallout of the Moscone Cup, what we are thinking of it 2 weeks later, and I guess what we envision the event going forward is going to look like. So why don't we jump in right away with what do we think of the event as a whole at this point, right?
I mean, the event is gonna hold its value, I think, forever. I think that the Moscone Cup is prestigious and means a lot to both sides. So I think that's compelling. I think next year in the U.S. we're gonna have a pretty intense crowd. I expect maybe even a bigger crowd than last year's. I think you're gonna see more American support, which would be great. As far as the players are going to have to get better as far as building a team, building a unit. I'm interested to see how that works. I've heard some conversation about how to facilitate training and the proper training and kind of like management that needs to happen between now and then, which I think is smart. If I'm an enterprising player making my way into Moscone and I figure I have a chance and I want to start putting those pieces together as much as I can early on, I'd go ahead and start working on that. I mean, obviously things need to change. I think as far as the format, I'd love to see a little bit more parity as far as getting more players, equal screen time instead of just making it about 1 or 2 guys every year. Like last year, we didn't really get to see much of Oscar either, which is strange. I think we saw Earl like 3 or 4 times towards Oscar's like 1, maybe 2 times. This year, Wolford didn't get as much looks, and obviously we had a truncated schedule.
Tyler really didn't either.
Yeah, Tyler didn't get enough time as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of shifts out. I know, Darren had shared some commentary on that and how that should kind of pair out compared to how it used to be for them. And I'd like to see them go to a template rack myself personally. I don't really understand, creating a rack format and training all year with, without the template and then just randomly throwing in a triangle hand rack in probably the most important competition for a lot of these guys all year. It just doesn't make sense. To me, it takes away skill, and then you got to develop a brand new break altogether, to deal with the hand rack. So I don't know. If you're going to have a format to standardize it, I think that's that. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of work to be done on the American side, obviously, to get things rolling in the right direction and start building some momentum. But we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, Jim, I guess what's your takeaways?
I mean, I can see some changes happening to the roster to stop the same players coming out all the time. But again, you can turn around and say you can guarantee every player the exactly the same amount of matches up until the start of day 4 when it's all singles. So basically for the whole tournament. But if it doesn't make it to day 4, then you're going to get players that are, if you get another 11-3 scoreline, there's going to be matches left over, and it's going to be the same guys that are not getting those matches because assuming that you're the captain that decides I'm just going out strong every day, I'm putting out the strongest I can every single time. I mean, there might be something to say for, you could almost make a roster yourself and just say, all I need from you is your player 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the schedule is set.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is. You don't know when these guys are coming out, but you just give me your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it gets filled in automatically. And
well, then what's the point of a captain at all? If that's the point.
Well, the point of a captain is for the mental side of it to then help your players get through it, and then you get your roster, your roster, and then you talk to your team about it and you get them set for that particular roster. I'm not saying this is something that should happen,
sure,
but I mean, it takes away the idea that Europe can then blitz the schedule with Filler and Jason every time. You know,
this is something that I was thinking about when I was thinking about how I wanted to approach reverse engineering, my preferred schedule, right? And basically just creating my 1 through 5, just numbers, no names attached, and basically looking at the flow chart and seeing, what's the most optimum lineup that I can get out there, assuming, 1 is the most valuable, working my way backwards, and then seeing, okay, if this is the position that I find that I can get my one guy in with the extra match and, get him the extra reps that he's deserved, kind of do it in basically an algorithm way, tracking it and seeing what's the most efficient path to get number 1, and then get, everybody else their spots, and then just saying, okay, who do I want to be number 1? Who do I want to be number 2? Who do I want to be number 3? And fill it out and then see how that looks. And then, you start making adjustments, or, I like the idea of having a plan set ahead of time, saying this is going to be my schedule for the cup, barring something crazy. And I think I heard Johan mention something to that effect, that he basically would go into the Mosconi Cups with his schedule more or less in line. And then the rest was just kind of coaching his guys to fit, peaking at those moments,
I mean,
right?
that
Because
has to make sense too, right? I mean, what
that to me
like
makes sense, because it tells me I have a plan. There's an
Yeah.
overall plan. We're not just kind of taking each day as like an a la carte experience. But if there is something I need to switch or pivot, then I know that I can make this swap here and still keep the overall trajectory of the plan in place. And then I
yeah, I
think
mean,
to me,
and then the only thing that would change is like if you're up 4-0, maybe you switch a couple lineups around day 2 and day 3, or if you're down 0-4, maybe you switch some things up. But I like the idea of that, like if you're going into it with a 3-day plan of this is how I'm going to give our team the best chance of winning. How is it that changes? I mean, I just don't see how that changes. If it's the best way for your team to win on day 0, it's got to be the same for day 2 and day 3, right?
And I think if that plan is clear, and you happen to be trailing after day 1, but you still stick to that plan, it kind of communicates a faith and belief in the team, and kind of gives them, hey, we hit a wave. We're skilled sailors. We need rough seas to keep that kind of going, and we're just gonna stick to this plan and ride it through. And that can be a stability, because if you just start, we gotta completely pivot and throw somebody out multiple times in one day and to kind of make a course correct, and that goes wrong, which is what happened in day 2, then that can be really negative, right, mentally. Because I think that was the on paper assessment of day 2 was like, well, this could go either really good or it can go really bad. And if it goes really bad, then it could be really bad. And
I mean,
the first 3 times.
The whole thing in essence is it's a team event, so you want it to be that one team beats another, not that just 2 guys in one team just destroy everybody in the other team,
which is basically what happened.
And make it impossible for the rest to make up the difference, kind of thing. I mean, again, this is just completely off the top of my head. I mean, if Matchroom were to set the schedule and say, okay, in the first match is a team match, the second one is a doubles, your number 1 player and a number 2 player play against America's number 1 player and number 2 player. And they do that for every single match to ensure that there's an even spread of all the numbers, and also that not the same numbers are getting all their matches in before the other ones. And then you turn around to the 2 captains and says, okay, this is a schedule. I now want to know who your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is to fit into this schedule. And there's not going to be the possibility for them to front load anywhere. There might be 1 or 2 possibilities. If you've got 2 players that you really want to get in quickly, there's a possibility. But the whole thing is then balanced. It becomes team against team. Then everybody's important. You can't hide anybody, but you also can't blast through the entire roster with 1 or 2 guys, and then you still have, as a captain, you can still turn around and say, okay, this is the order I've got to put them out. Who do I want to be number 1? Who do I want to be number 4? Who do I want to be?
I'm pretty sure Darren has said that in the past they've had pretty much the perfect format. So I'm not exactly sure where that kind of shifted. So I think
I think it shifted with like fans' choice. When you're gonna have a fans' choice of singles, it's always going to be Shane, or it's always. And this year, I guess it was Fedor, but I mean it takes Fedor switching over to Team USA for that to happen. In the past, it was like
Yeah.
team events. It's
I personally, I
you're
like
gonna end up
the
seeing more
idea.
Shane and
I
Sky.
like the idea of the first 3 days all starting with a team match. I think the team match is quite nice. Everybody's out there. Everyone's in the arena. If you put a team match on at the start of every single day, it gives every single player, you would think, a rack. Get them on the table, get them in the arena, and you would expect then the quality to increase as well. A little bit. It's a nice match to watch. It's good for the fans. And maybe it eats up one of the fans' choices, or eats up one of the extra singles matches that Filler always gets or Jason always gets.
I think
balances the roster so that at the end of the match, everybody's played 2 singles and 3 doubles or whatever it turns out to be. And everyone's played the same amount. It makes the MVP fairer as well. Because there's guys going in there on Team
with
Europe
no chance, right?
with no chance of MVP, even though they know they're probably going to win the cup.
Yep.
They've got no chance of MVP because they know that Filler and Jason are going to get 1 or 2 points more than them to play in.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with just getting rid of the fans' choice. It is kind of gimmicky, and I think that's going to.
But that wasn't there this year either. The fans' choice wasn't there this year, but it was given to the captain to decide. So it was an extra match for one of the singles players.
Right.
So it's still an extra match that somebody gets to play that somebody else doesn't. It's and when we've got one team that's got Filler on there and the other team who's got a player who says I don't want to play. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Just let everybody play. Just let everybody play exactly the same amount of matches, exactly the same amount of doubles, and exactly the same amount of singles. Let everybody do it. It's a proper team match, and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I guess jumping in, when I'm looking at the format, everybody played one match on day 1, right? Let's remove the team event, so everybody's at 1 going into day 2 because that's how the format requires it. Mm-hmm. Day number 2, you had Fedor with 3, and the next closest person was Shane at 2. Obviously, it's going to change from there, but I would like to see a format where you can never have somebody have more than 2 matches more than anybody else in your team. So if somebody's at 3, then everybody else has to have 2. That way it forces everybody to actually get out there on the stage, and you could still have your best players have a match more.
Match, yeah.
But you can't have them have 2 matches more, 3 matches more. I mean, how many matches did Fedor end up with at the end? Probably 3 more than Tyler and Shane.
Yeah, he played.
Yeah, but that's because the match ended pretty early as well. They'd have got those matches back, but
Well, I think they were only like 1 match away from getting into the singles.
They couldn't get the same amount of matches as him because he played 2 singles at the start.
Correct.
So they could never get the same amount of matches.
But what I'm saying is I think they were only 1 match away from getting into the singles portion of the event, which means that everything is done from there, and everybody's just going to get 1 more, right? I mean, Shane and Sky was the last match before singles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is it. I mean, and the 2 that are going to have more than everybody else are adding 1 more.
All Fedor did was play 1 singles more than the rest.
And 1 more doubles.
Fedor and Sky.
And 1 more double. He played 1 more doubles too.
Yeah, okay, but Fedor and Sky would have in the singles. Fedor and Sky split the 2 extra matches. Fedor and Sky split.
Sure. Yeah,
Jason.
Fedor also played an extra doubles.
Jason and Filler split the. No. Filler played the first one, and Filler and Sanchez Ruiz split the Europe. No, Filler played both of them. So Filler got a lot more matches than the rest.
Yeah. Well, that's why he was the MVP, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's going to say that he played. And did he play better than Jason?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably. It was close. I mean, he definitely made flashier shots, but did he play better than Jason? Pretty close. I don't remember Jason even hardly making any mistakes. I mean, not that Josh did, but I mean, they played pretty close. Josh just had an extra.
Let's say a few of the racks that Filler shot out were a level above anything that anybody else did.
Yeah. Well, a couple of the shots that he made are. Yeah.
We're just
I mean, they're just silly.
Jason did very little wrong. Did very very.
Do we
little
have
wrong.
any? Do we have any update yet on the Matchroom schedule? Has that been released?
I'm still waiting. I need to figure out what events I'm going to play. There's nothing nothing on the website about any schedules. I've no idea.
Actually, they redid their website, and I actually really hate their website now. I thought it was quite user friendly before, and now I find it a lot harder to access information on their website.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if I do like the idea. I never thought about the idea of actually having a set schedule in a set schedule, and then Matchroom but Matchroom has to do the schedule before they actually pick 1 through 5 for their players because
So the entire event is decided. There's no waking up in the morning and reacting to score lines.
Correct.
Your schedule is in there for the entire event, except for perhaps the last day singles. Then you can come back in the last day singles and decide.
I can do it on my end. I can do it on my end. I got you.
All right, no problem.
No, but you know good and damn well that if you say, all right, Sky is number 1, Shane is number 2, blah 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 blah, Josh is number 1, Jason's number 2, blah 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 blah, and then Matchroom takes that and makes their schedule based off of that, you know good and damn well that they're gonna fix that to give whatever the best. They're gonna set it up to where Josh is playing Shane opening match because they want people to get in there right away. They want people to be starting it.
Well, no, because you're giving the captain both sets.
No. What I'm saying is if the captain picks 1 through 5, if both captains pick 1 through 5, and then they give it to Matchroom, and then Matchroom makes their schedule based off of that.
The schedule has to be the schedule has to be known beforehand.
So, yes. I agree.
I kind of don't like that idea because I do think there's a skill to the captaincy side of things and making,
I don't think that goes away, right? Because that doesn't go away necessarily. Because if both captains have the schedule right in front of them,
if you're not allowed to
they can start making their decisions.
If you're not allowed to pivot, a key match here and there because everything's already pre-locked for you, then you take away a lot of, the on-site, like live calling ability of the captain, and I don't necessarily.
But there is a lot of gaming that could still happen, right? So, like let's say JJ, let's say 1 plays against 4. Let's just say 1 plays against 4. Both captains can be like, all right, well, all right. JJ says, all right, I think they're going to put Josh out as number 1. I'm going to go out and sacrifice Shane Wolford in this singles match and try to load up later on with other players and just kind of sacrifice off this match and give Shane a free roll at trying to beat Josh. You can kind of like game the system a little bit to try to find out where they're going to put their lineup, where we're going to put our lineup, and try to optimize based off of what we think they'll do.
Yeah, it's kind of like chess. You're making your moves ahead.
Real quick before you go, I do want to give a shout out to Windows Open for having Darren, and since they're in the comments, Darren and Carl on, and then JJ yesterday. So I want to give a shout out to them. Go over and watch those interviews they did. They were incredible.
I'm halfway through
the 2 days were great.
I'm halfway through the Darren and Carl talk. I had to take a meeting and then jumped on this, so I haven't finished listening to that. I thought I listened to the JJ conversation this morning. I thought it was great. I thought it was good to have JJ on there and kind of like give his take on how things went, what were some of his decision makings and idea. I think it's good to hear that side of things.
I'll give props to JJ for doing it. I know that's not an easy interview for him to have.
Yeah, it's easy to crawl under a rock and not, he's.
It's a friendly interview. It's a friendly interview. It could be a lot harder, but also
I think a lot of
JJ
us feel
for the balls to doing it is good.
Feel frustration because we all want we all want a competitive cup. We all want. Especially the Americans.
And we all think we're the smartest guy in the room, right? We all think that we have the answers. we all think we're smarter than everyone else.
A Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. That's always easy, of course. But in hindsight, is 2020.
I personally don't think it achieves anything by going in hard on Jeremy. I mean, the chances are he's not going to be the captain next year. I think he's an outside bet to get the captaincy again. I think if he gets the captaincy again, then I think people will ask questions and people will then say, right, well, what the fuck are you going to do different this time? You've been given another chance.
Everything starts and stops with Shane. We already know that. It's just whether or not he can keep him in line.
So people are going to be calling for Jeremy to actually, to change something, to really get harder with Shane, if that's what people feel that is necessary. If he doesn't get the job again, it's a new person. Then what's the point? What's the point in bashing on him now for something that he can't do anything about anymore? He can't change anything now unless he gets a job again.
Well, I think to your point, it's probably unlikely that he's going to get the captaincy another time, but I think he can probably still add value. I'd mentioned on the last conversation about there being more of a collaborative kind of ownership, at least on the United States side, as far as Team USA prep is concerned. I think there's a lot of very talented and knowledgeable people who have skills and insights to offer. And when you talk about prepping for something that's on an international stage. It's going to reflect the U.S., right? Our country, and kind of put our flag up there. Then we should be putting those best minds together and kind of like, helping add value and make, you know, make uh make for a quality training environment. I think again, it's crazy to me that we didn't have a practice match before for Team USA. I thought that's kind of strange considering how beneficial that could be. You get those competition reps in, and you get to see in real time what's working and not working. Would have loved to have seen that.
But, but against who?
Oh, Texas is a ton of great players. Oscar was over there. Dominguez was over there. Chris Reinhold was I think
Roberto
close.
Gomez is over.
Roberto Gomez is there.
Then you're banking on those guys to actually say, you know what,
Jim,
yeah,
even
I'll give up my time and play a match. You're saying to Chris Reinhold, you're saying to Chris Reinhold, you're not in the team, but do you mind helping us out by?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't he want to? Why wouldn't he want to?
No, I'm asking you.
If he wants to be a part of the team going forward,
oh yeah,
if he wants to be a part of the team going forward, he sure as hell better try to help it when he's not on it.
Yeah, and
the question, does he do that? I know there's a lot of players that would turn around and say, "Go fuck yourself! You didn't pick me. I'm not helping you."
Well, congratulations, you'll never make it again. If you can't be part of the team when you're not part of the team, don't expect to be a part of the team any other time.
Team Europe had a practice match against a Scottish team in Glasgow.
Well, and all joking aside, like I'm not trying to put like any of us in that category, but there was a pretty freaking strong like amateur team that they could have put up against them at Spots and Stripes when they were there for the 3 days. I mean, Del Sim was over there. I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's an Indian player. He plays really, really strong. The guy that works there, there's a guy that works at Spots and Stripes that plays about 730 feet speed. I mean, I was there, Jim. I play like 500 speed. All joking aside, like there actually was some pretty decent players that we could have actually put up to not challenge them, but to just put them in a situation of, something.
Texas
could
in
have
that
done
area.
That. Could have put that
in that area. You could have gotten Alex Calderon, Roberto Gomez, Chip Compton, Joy Gray. Oscar Dominguez was in town. Like, there's a number of players that are in that area that are high 700s, low 800s that you could have just had to spar with and practice with, And if you need to pay them for their time, sure, but whatever, that's worth it. And it's an opportunity to get actual heat reps. You need those things. When last time Team USA won, they went and played the Kremlin Cup, played against Team Russia, then went and played a practice set against the Great Britain team. So they play with European team to prep against Team Europe, which is less likely than getting an American team to want to,
And the funny thing was they lost against Team Britain and then beat Team Europe.
No, they did not. No, they did not.
Yes, they did not.
No, they did not. No, they did not. They won like 6 or 7 matches straight to win that. When they played against like Mark Gray and Imran Majid and Darren Appleton.
I thought they lost that.
No, they won it. They were down big. They were down like 7-1, and then they scored like 8 of the next 9 points or something like that. They ended up winning it. They did win it.
Yep. Just the point is you get to go through those, near pressure, simulated experiences and get competition reps. And to me, with guys that are all pretty much know what to do, how to execute certain shots, how to, deliver the cue and all that, it's really
just get used to the format's nice. I'm just actually getting, and I know to shout out to JJ, who obviously they didn't have a challenge match, but they were training in a race to 5 where they were putting up, Sky and Shane versus Tyler and Fedor, and they were doing that over and over and over again. But it's a little bit different when you're doing it.
Is great. Yeah. That's helpful just to see
that's
kind of
what they were doing that. Yeah.
But then you want to take that and apply it, in a real match setting together and see how it goes.
Well, I mean, it depends how helpful that is, because what I heard.
Yeah, you also don't want there to be negative seeds, right?
During all those matches, Shane basically got battered by everybody in his own team for like a couple of days and couldn't win a rack. And it basically could be one of the reasons why he wasn't in the best frame of mind when he got there. Apparently, he was getting battered by everybody in his own team.
Well, why not have that as like when we were Spots and Stripes? Why not ask Del Sim and myself and the guy that works at Spots and Stripes? I cannot believe I'm not remembering his name right now. And then the Indian guy that was also there, and they could have put together a pretty decent amateur team of a bunch of 720, 730 Fargo players that aren't going to challenge you, might help your ego a little bit, might help your confidence a little bit, and give you a little bit of a pressure.
Or before you play against filler, one of your teammates goes to the practice room with you and deliberately misses everything, so as it gives you a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do to pump it up, to pump up your guys, you got to do it. I mean,
Oliver's the guy that works there.
Oliver.
See, that's that drink you took. Without taking that drink, you would never.
I wouldn't have remembered. Yeah, that's it. Magic Mind helps.
Magic Mind.
I would have never gotten there. Yeah, he's. I think Oliver played. He played Copenhagen at the UK Open. He didn't even have a cue. He had to borrow cues to play there. He's an English 8-ball player. Had to borrow cues and took Copenhagen to the hill. Lost on the hill to him.
Nice.
So,
yeah, I mean, he's a player.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get to the hill against Copenhagen without being able to play a little bit.
I beat Copenhagen.
Well, you're a damn champion, aren't you?
Last year at the International, in front of his two brothers. So,
did you look at him and just scream, "You're next"?
I think he was drunk.
I did not. I know better than to poke the bears. Those are big bears, even though they're diminutive and stuff.
They're very small big bears, aren't they?
Yeah.
Don't
little
poke the
bears
bear.
with big paws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't. Again, like you said, Jim, Monday morning quarterbacking, right? We're always the smartest people in the room, and if JJ would have just listened to us, we'd be in a much better situation right now. Obviously, the irony of that is quite strong, but this is kind of what the industry is, right? This is what creates interest. This is what creates content. You sit around and talk about things, and you praise when things go well, and you criticize when things go wrong, and all of it brings interest.
I just hope that Matchroom make a decision very quickly on the captaincies to give.
You got to give them a chance. Yeah.
Give whoever it is as much time as possible to formulate a plan, to get in touch with the players, because there's 3 of them that are going to be on that team. At least 3 of that 5 will be back again. They already get in touch. They already start building a rapport. How
do you remove Tyler? I mean, unless he's not playing, how do you remove Tyler?
I'm just saying there's 3 foregone conclusions. Tyler, I don't see Tyler getting into the top 3 on the ranking.
Tyler's the only person that keep with Shane.
But he needs a wild card. So I don't see him getting in the top 3 in the ranking, so he needs a wild card. You don't know who the captain is. The captain might think Tyler's a complete asshole and not pick him. You don't know. But there's 3 guys that are going to top the ranking. It's going to be those 3 guys that top 3 in the ranking. So those are the only 3 that you need to worry about at the moment, I think. And honestly, I don't think you really need to do much talking to Tyler. If he is going to be in your team, I don't really think you need to say much to him.
No, because he preps better than anybody else in the world.
Exactly. You don't need to tell. You don't need to tell Tyler to work hard. You don't
Tyler's
need to
on that
tell
stage
Tyler
because
to be
he's
focused.
Yeah.
You don't need
he's
to
on that
tell
stage
Tyler to cry his fucking heart out right until the last ball. You don't need to tell Tyler these things.
He's on that stage because he works harder than everybody else.
Sometimes the only thing
more talented.
Sometimes the only thing you need to do to Tyler is say, I appreciate your honesty, but you don't have to say absolutely everything. Some stuff you can just okay.
Yep. Tyler's on that stage not because he's the most talented, it's because he works harder than everybody else.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the whole honesty thing with the players. I think an engaged coach will have opportunities for feedback, bring stuff back and forth, and then be able to take information from one person saying they're feeling a certain thing or not feeling a certain thing, or that's part of the alchemy of being a master motivator of people, right? Is figuring out, what they're sensing from somebody, because they're going to get something from you that's unique, and you got to have them in the right state of mind to go out there and compete. And then your job is to interpret that stuff and then, translate it back out. So it's a little bit of live alchemy and sorcery here, mental sorcery. Johan apparently is very good at that. He's not necessarily the best, player, but he knows how to train people and how to get them into the right frame of mind. So that's awesome. Maybe we see Scott, have a shot. Frost, I've mentioned it in private to a few friends of mine a month and a half ago. Even to Tyler before the US, actually right after the US Open, I was just like, I have a feeling Scott's gonna wiggle his way into next captain if it doesn't go well for Team USA in Europe.
Really quickly before you move on from that, are you in favor of that, or you just think that that's going to happen?
I think it would probably be a a good change forward as far as in US people. Again, he has leverage, I think, with Shane, relational leverage. I think that's very important. And he's a very smart guy. And I think from what I've heard in commentary of his assessment of the in-person dynamics, he was tuned into a few of those kind of more subtle things, disposition and timing and what, because really it's about timing. You got to make sure that your guys are playing well at the right time to win matches and steal points. And that's how you win, the Moscone Cup. I heard a great conversation just yesterday. Djokovic was talking about, his match with Federer, and I think it was 2019 Wimbledon, and it goes 5 sets.
27-25.
It was 13-12 in the fifth set, and he said, by all accounts, Federer played the better match. He won more points, served more aces, made less errors. I just won key points at key times and was strong enough mentally to not lose certain points at certain times, and I won the match. I ended up finishing ahead. But he says Federer played a better match than he did. And he says sometimes that's how you win, So we got to get to a point where we're thinking right, and giving ourselves the best opportunity, making the right decisions. And I think Scott's very savvy when it comes to that one pocket player, and been around the world and is a student of human moves, as they say. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, I don't think.
I think it needs to be somebody who is very different from Jeremy.
Right.
I don't think. I don't think that that's a good pick.
I don't think the who is really that important. It's the approach that person has. They have to, Jeremy's incredibly knowledgeable. He's been there before. He's been in the arena, but there's something missing there with his connection with that team. And
I don't think
maybe he's too soft. Maybe he is too soft. Maybe he's too friendly with them. Then let's try somebody who's going to be a complete asshole to these players. I'm not here to be your friend for the next 4 days. I don't give a crap if you hate me. I don't care if you're talking about me behind my back with the rest of them. You're doing this and you're doing it when I tell you and you're doing it the way I tell you. Just see if that works. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the lighter touch, the lighter kind of approach is helpful in a scenario.
It is with some people, but obviously not with these people.
In this scenario, I don't think it's helpful, right? On Ralph Eckert's side, it was totally appropriate because you had a culture established, you had a definitive leader, there was clear ideas of how and when to do things and why, and they didn't necessarily need the guidance. But I think on Team USA side, there needs to be a stronger voice, a stronger approach, and there's going to be lines in the sand saying, "I don't want to. You're playing. This is the spot you're playing in. We need you to go out there, and this is when you're going to be playing. So you got to do anything you need to do to be able to be ready to play match 2 tomorrow morning. You know what I mean? That's just got to be it. And I think having a clear game plan from beginning to end, not just kind of like scrambling things up and shifting, because then again, what's the reason behind that? If somebody's saying they don't want to play, then do they have too much leverage and too much sway, and you don't want to have that either. You know what I
mean? Are you then scared that they sabotage it to say, I told you it was the wrong place to put me? That they then sabotage their own match to prove you wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to tank that way too, that's fun. But ultimately, if you're at the top of the pecking order for the team, you got to be available to play the most matches, or close to it. Filler's ready to run out there at any second.
The same.
Yeah. If Filler's going to want to run out there every single second he gets a chance.
Filler will play 5 matches in a day if you ask him to.
Jason will as well. He'll do whatever you need.
I think he'll run over Pia to get out there faster if he needed to.
Absolutely, he's a killer. But she'll hang the lights. She'll definitely hang the lights. She's in charge.
Yeah, he doesn't do that stuff himself, does he?
No, she's in charge, 100%, 100%. But again,
I just don't see. I don't see how Scott's the answer. I mean, and it's nothing against Scott. It's nothing about his credentials. It's nothing about his worthiness. It's everything that I just don't see him as being any different than JJ. And sure, he's got the ear of Shane a little bit more, but like, if we're this close away from having Shane more engaged, and the only difference is having Scott there that will help engage him a little bit more, sure. But I don't see that as like the case. I feel like we're a long ways away from Shane being properly engaged. And I think
don't know.
I like the idea of having Billy as a captain, as weird as that is to say, more than I like Scott, just because Billy is such a firecracker. He is going to be so much different than what JJ would be. I feel like that would be enough of a shock to maybe keep Shane engaged, but maybe Shane doesn't respect him enough to be able to keep his ear. I don't know. I just don't see Scott as being that much different than JJ.
I would argue against that. I think just because of what we saw on day 3 with Shane coming out so strong, and I know a lot of that has to do with
it's easy to come out well when you're playing well.
Well, yeah, but it's easy to play well when you're locked in and engaged, and it's easy to play really bad. So sometimes that distance between that, even though it feels like a mile away, when we're seeing the outside of it, it's a small thing. And to Telfer's credit, if you know that taking licks in practice is going to affect somebody negatively, you have this evidence now, right? Then pump them up. Find a sacrificial lamb that can travel with you.
Let's be completely honest. If they're 2-2 after day 1, Shane's still engaged in the match.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because the pressure's off of him for that day's losses.
It's the score. It's the score that's checked him out.
Well, I would also.
He's taken so many beatings over the years. He's 4-0 down. He says, "Well, there we go again."
Yeah.
I would also.
We can't come back from this. And it's
right.
Just
I would also argue
because they've never come back from it. He thinks they can never come back from it, so then he just switches off.
I would also argue, Ray.
The only way to guarantee defeat is to give up. That's the only way you guarantee losing. That's the only 100% guarantee is just to give up.
I would also argue, Ray, that if he looked pretty engaged coming out on day 1 as well until that 9-ball. If he misses the first 9-ball against
I'm telling you, that rack he ran, he ran it all the way to the 9. But Beautiful. He was getting worse and worse on every single ball he hit. He was he was in the best position possible on the first ball, and it got 10% worse every single shot he hit until he left himself, until he got nowhere near centre table. He should have been centre table with that cue ball. He only got that far from the rail.
Sure, but he's also favored to make that 98%
He's
of the
favored
time.
to make it, but he doesn't. He never misses it from centre table, which is where he should have been. He managed to get himself this far from the rail.
I think
it went from 100.
Just rolling forward back to centre table, he managed to get this far from the rail.
I think he got a little skid as well on that 8-ball.
Well, it's the table, the table, and he's decided to go forward with it, which means it's going to stick a little bit on the rail. It's not going to release like it normally does because he's put the top spin on it. He could have just drawn back and left himself a little bit thinner on the 9, but he'd have still got down, halfway between the blue spot and the left-hand centre. He's still got himself down, or the right-hand centre from the TV.
Here's some secret technology that I've started playing with a little bit in spots where you get a little flat, but you really need to move the ball. You know what I mean? Like he got a little flat on that 8-ball, and ideally you want to have an angle where you just go to the cushion and back out. And it's hard to manufacture that with your playing shafts. Its limitations. But if you pull out your break cue and just shoot that ball with your break cue, the super stiff smashes right into the cushion. It's like you don't realize how much extra leverage you can create angles that don't really exist in spots. But anyhow.
And that's where the Horo tip would help, because the Horo tip also has incredible grip for it. Is incredible. A sponsor of the podcast. We'll give a shout out to Horo Tips. You could shoot that shot with your break cue and still have plenty of grip because it smashes like phenolic and it grips like leather. It's awesome.
And if you drunk some of that green stuff that Nate had, he wouldn't have left himself flat on the 8-ball in the first place.
That's 1,000%. That's where the air
had a little bit of magic mind. Actually, why don't we just jump into this, because it's fully in my system now. And I'm telling you what, I woke up a little bit groggy today. I may or may not have had a drink or two last night. I'm not gonna lie.
You may be high, Nate.
I'm telling you what, this stuff really helps you out, man. You feel engaged.
Will you pass all the drug tests next tournament if you've been drinking that stuff?
That's a good question.
You might want to go get that checked out.
Well, I can tell you what's in it. You want to hear the ingredients? Here's the ingredients. It's got matcha. It is a way less caffeine than coffee and also contains additional compounds called catechins that extend the benefit of caffeine by slowing your body's ability to absorb it, as well as the compound called L-theanine that reduces stress. Do I look less stressed right now?
Have you got some of that stuff as well, Raymond?
No, but I do take L-theanine in the morning. I have my own stuff that I take that has it. So
there you go.
Great.
So obviously the compounds or the ingredients are good. It also has Bacapa Manieri, which is a nootropic that improves your attention span, your ability to process and learn new information, and your memory. That's how I remembered Oliver. That's it right there. It's got ashwagandha.
It's ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen that reduces stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's got
great.
Weeds, basically.
Rhodiola rosea, which is a nootropic and pathogen that reduces.
And
This does not help
pathogen.
you read. This does not help you read. From
It
what I'm
doesn't help
seeing.
you read. No,
It does not help you read.
His eyesight's gone.
He's got to check the prescription.
It's also got lion's mane mushrooms and cordyceps
Lion's
mushrooms.
mane and mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's good
Brilliant.
stuff, man. I'm telling you what.
Awesome.
And you can even get some of this. It's awesome. You know, I took this because I can't stop from drinking too much on a Sunday because Sundays are fun days and you got to drink on Sundays. So I wake up hungover. I have one of these and apparently it makes me the happiest little panda in the whole wide world. I feel like Mario He. This must be how Mario feels all the time. He's just happy as can be. I love it. This is so good.
I feel like Nate took a one-up mushroom. It's the only mushroom that's not
I
listed.
think
in
that one you had extra mushrooms in it.
I feel like I could run a rack. I feel like I could run a 10-pack with this stuff.
No,
and you can get your own.
Christ, it wasn't made by a wizard.
No, I'm telling you, Jim. I'm not going to send you any because you live too far away, but Ray's going to get some.
And I already run racks without it.
Well, that one time at that one time.
One time
you can get your own at magicmind.com/Cue It Up. And if you use the code QITUP20, you get 50% off your subscription for the next 10 days.
Sick.
Do you have an advert for it?
That's it.
Is that the advert for it? How about we run the Jacobey ad then?
Well, let's jump into that next then. All right. While we're doing this, we'll thank the rest of our sponsors as well. Jacobey is the biggest sponsor to the podcast. They allow us to really do this and do it at a moderate level. It'd be better if Jim was better, but what can you do? All right. So check out this awesome advert by Jacobey Custom Cues. Those are some pretty awesome cues. Bye, Jim.
Oh.
So if you liked any of those cues and you want to get your hands on one, you can always reach out to me. I can get you hooked up with any of those, and I might even be able to get you a little bit of a percentage off because you listen to the podcast, and that makes me happy. So let's also thank Insight Performance Coaching. Actually, how awesome would it be to have Tara run the Team USA? Talk about a mental coach. That might be really good. What do you think, Ray?
I will not give away the format or structure of what I think a proper training camp looks like. I have like a structure like in mind, and it involves a lot of stuff. Mental training is definitely a part of that. So, reach out to
Raymond's
Tara.
going to apply for it next year.
I may not apply. I may just solve the problem directly myself, just because I've been so tilted about it. It's driving me into action. So,
Ooh, exciting!
We'll see.
Telling you what, mental coach might help. Who knows? Tara's awesome. She does great work. Billiards Digest. Thank you for your continued support. Salado digital pool, onboard sportswear, and Horo tips. Of course, we already talked about the Black Storm. If you want yourself any of the tips that we're talking about, you can always reach out to me. I have a full stock of them at all times for sale. 12FYAO, talking about those Black Storms. They are actually quite incredible. Have you tried them, Ray?
I haven't yet.
I'll send you some in your Magic Mind package. You can try them out.
Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I would put them on because I have.
I'll send you some too, Jim. Jesus.
Jim's always down to try the new stuff. Yeah,
I'll try
I heard
some
they're great.
herbal remedies.
I just have a feeling I'm going to melt them like I melted the Town V2 tips.
These do not do that. They do not do this. They will not because they're not the same material. They're a chemical.
We will find out.
Yeah, you will not. And if you do, then bummer. But I don't think you do. 12 FYAO. They have not made any marks on my table. Have they made any marks on your table? They do not burn for me.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's move on from our sponsors. Thank you all. And again, for the Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/QItUp and use discount code QITUP20. You can get yourself 50% off a subscription. And remember, these are the people that we always want outside money into the industry. We don't have a lot of it. There's a few companies that have reached out to us in the past to get some outside money into our podcast. If you support them, they will continue to do it. So please go over there if you have any interest in helping with your focus and attention and memory. Honestly, this stuff is actually pretty cool. I just tried it for the first time today, and I feel like really energized after being kind of hungover today. So I'm actually going to get myself some of this. I'm going to pay my good money for it because I really actually enjoy this. So, all right, let's move on from there. Let's get back into our discussion on the Moscone Cup. We've had a pretty good discussion on the format and kind of our takeaways from it. Let's look at it more broadly going forward. I know that there was a lot of hype into this being the 30-year anniversary. They really, they put out an incredible video of it, a documentary style video. They did a lot of hype. They did a lot of like apparel and all that good stuff. And to be honest, it kind of flopped, right? What do you look at the future of the event being? How do we make it more competitive consistently? Jim, what do you think?
Well, at the end of the day, you call it a flop, yes. I mean, yes, competitively it was a flop, but I still think the production was excellent. The arena looked fantastic. We had the VIP for one day. Everything they did backstage with the VIP was really, really cool. Having the table there, and there was lots to do. I don't particularly like Ali Pali as a venue. Once you're in the arena, it looks fantastic, and the atmosphere is really good, and the acoustics in there are really, really good. But I just don't like going to London for the Moscone Cup very much. Don't like going to Vegas is just way better. Put it that way. I don't think that Matchroom could have done really much more, to be honest. The thing was, if you want to call it a flop, was a flop because Team America just didn't show up and didn't perform.
I'm ready, yep.
That's what made it a flop. But that is, in essence, I mean, Barry Hearn touched on it at the start in the press conference when he made his speech, saying, you can't sell this event if it's going to be a blowout every single year. It needs to be competitive. And at the moment, Europe are not going to show them any mercy. Europe are not going to turn around and say, we'll let you win one now and again just to keep it interesting. It's not going to happen that way. So America are going to have to step up. They're going to have to pull the pants up and actually make a match out of this. Will it ever go away? No, it'll never go away. It's Moscone Cup. It'll stay there. It's still the flagship event, But this will happen, USA will not always get pumped, they're going to win occasionally, and we're 30 years in, they want to continue for another 30 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, maybe Europe are getting pumped all the time. You don't know these things. It changes, it goes back and forward. It's just unfortunate at the moment that Europe are so dominant that we get these matches. Matchroom can't do much more. They're providing an excellent product.
Well, if there is something that they can do, and we've talked about this already a little bit, is make it so Josh and Jason can have 5 matches each. throughout day one.
I get that, and my
That's
personal opinion
equalizer.
on changing the format is not to help USA. It's to make it more of a team event. Where you're
I think
not
that does make the product better too, right?
Yeah, you want all 5 of these guys have qualified. They should all get the same amount of airtime. They should all get the same amount of matches. That's what a team thing is. That's team against team. Everybody. It's the same as you have a game of soccer. You've got 11 players all play, or 22 players all playing at the same time. They're all equally important for the same amount of time during the match, unless you make an occasional substitution. And that's team play. Not that you can win something with 3 players. When a 5-team event, for 3 players to be enough for you to win the event is not, that shouldn't be the way it is. So let everybody have the same. I don't want to go down the road of we have to change it in order to make it more competitive. That's the Corey Jewell way of thinking. Change the rules so that I've got more chance of winning.
Well,
rather than just go and get better.
Well, I'm very much in favor of them actually changing the format. I would love to actually see them change the format, but not to make it
tweaks they could make.
Well, not to make it more competitive. I would like to see 5 matches a day, no matter what. And we're not playing to a number. We're playing that this is how many matches we're going to play. 5 matches day 1, 5 matches day 2, 5 matches day 3, and 6 matches on day 4. And that's the schedule every single day. One, it's going to make it more consistent. They know ish exactly how long it's going to last. You're not cutting days short. And if the U.S. gets blown out 26-10, whatever. I mean, that is what it is. You're going to have 21 total. Well, I guess they can at that point, but you have 21 total matches. You know what the schedule is going to be every single day. You can say, all right, this is when we're starting. This is about when we're going to stop. It's better for the networking. It's better for getting out there in packages. There's no reason why they couldn't take this package as long as it's ish the right amount of time and sending it over to ESPN to be able to potentially do something, or any other thing. I know they have Sky Sports in Europe, but they don't have anything in the US. It'd be nice to see it make it onto cable in some sort of way over here. But yeah, I would like to see that. I want to see them have the same amount of matches every day.
The problem you're going to have there, as far as selling a TV product, is that if the match is over and you say there's going to be 21 matches and it gets to 11-3, like it was here, so you still have 7 matches to play, people are not going to watch it. So your TV ratings are going to look shit for day 4. So all of a sudden, you've got TV ratings that are absolutely diabolical. And your TV company, who's paid money for this product, is then saying, I could have put anything else on here. I could have put 2 people just headbutting each other for an hour and more people would have tuned in to watch it.
Well, to be clear, if they would have done that, if they put 2 people headbutting each other, it's probably going to be higher than pool anyways, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. But still, you just end up causing more frustrations there, And
no, I see what you're saying.
But I think the match has to have a winning point, and that has to be the moment where the cup is handed over.
Well then why can't once you get to 11, you still keep the same amount of matches, but you do something different. You do something more fun. You make it more engaging.
You could do something. You could have a backup plan.
Because it's not like Jim, like we had VIP for day 3, and to be honest, I mean day 3 was, I was annoyed anyways because we had those assholes behind us, and they really made it miserable. But it's almost annoying. Like in between matches, they go out there and they do like a 7-minute, 10-minute long interview just because they're trying to fill as much content as possible. We're not watching pool at that point. We're watching people stand in front of the table talking, and in the arena you can't actually hear them. You can barely hear them, if at all. They're doing those interviews not for us in the arena. They're doing them for the people at home on TV, and we can't hear what they're saying, but we just see them down there, and we're waiting, commercial, and then a 10-minute long interview, and then a commercial, and we're waiting like almost 15-20 minutes in between these matches because they're trying to just fill up as much time as they possibly can because they know that the match isn't going to be competitive. I mean, is that good content? Maybe. Maybe it is. I don't know. We didn't hear it, so I don't know.
What you could do is you could have something like a pro-am. You have
sure.
you turn around and say, okay, our plan B is for day 4. If there isn't a day 4, that we have a pro-am. The winning team gets a doubles partner from the crowd. That's maybe somebody well known, maybe one of the captains or both captains are a doubles partner for somebody, and Carl Boyce comes out of the commentary box, Scott Frost comes out of the commentary box, and you just have a little bit of a fun round robin thing for day 4. Sure. And let's see if these commentators play as good as they as they talk, and have something like that for day 4. Anything to get more pool on the television, rather than shortening the days and having less pool. Make sure there's more pool.
Yeah, I think there's been like I think about like tennis broadcasts. Let's say there's an arena where there's a rain delay, you can't close the roof. A lot of times they'll scratch that match for the day, and they'll replay a match from earlier in the round or something like that can fill the airtime. I think to the point about making the Moscone Cup better and bigger, let's just say, I think getting it off of DAZN and onto something that's more accessible to non-pool fans or non-DAZN subscribers. I'd imagine it's a pretty small market. I'd love to see it on Facebook, honestly. I think I could share that with my 5,000 people that are on just my page alone. And there will be people who are like, oh, this is exciting. This is cool. It's something Raymond's into. I think that's probably more valuable, at least here in the U.S. But I know, they've got their airtime, in the UK that goes straight to Sky. There's value in that too. I don't know what the cost is compared to getting it on something like ESPN or something on cable here in the US, but it's definitely important because it grows interest. As far as just making the cup, more competitive, that the responsibility is on Team USA to get better. They just gotta perform better, train better, and kind of rethink the puzzle and start working backwards from a win to what we need to get to as far as an organization, and create an organization. We don't really have a structure here in the US for our pros. We just don't. There's, they're just going out there chasing ranking points and then making the team. And then you slap a captain on, and then you have a week to get, to figure it out. Like, that's not going to cut it, So
they could also extend the races, make it 6 again. It used to be 6.
I like the 5.
It adds a little bit to the television time. It extends it a little bit. You could then go to 4 matches a day, and people are not losing that much pool time.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent with Nate about getting those 5 matches a day. I just feel, man, if you're gonna bloody them up and like let them feel the full suffer, like gut them, like have the full barbarism on display. That's fine.
It's one of those things where like. For example, like one of my friends went over there from Florida, and he got there like the morning of, and he left. I mean, he was over there on vacation, so he stayed a week longer. But I had a conversation with him. He's like, "Man, this doesn't. It seems like it lasts a lot longer when you're watching on your TV at home." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, when you have what do they go? 4 matches, 4 matches, 3 matches, 3 matches." I mean, There's some of these people that are flying 8 hours, 9 hours, 10. I mean, if you're coming from California, you're looking at flying like 12 hours to get to this place, and you're watching 3 matches a day. And of course, they're dragging it out as long as they can with their interviews, like I said, but that's a really long time to fly for potentially 7 or 8 or 9 hours worth of only pool content. Might as well give them their full package of 16 hours or whatever it's going to end up being by doing 5 matches a day, and find more. It's easier to find creative ways to keep people engaged after it's a beatdown than it is to just shorten every single day by 3 matches, because you can't keep it competitive in my mind anyways. I just don't see why you wouldn't want it to be, allow your team to be creative as opposed to put everybody in a box and throw a bunch of extra interviews out there to try to eat up time. I don't, that's just my thought on it.
Yeah.
And I will say I like I also like earlier now that we're talking format, I'm sure Melina Mike's not here anymore at this point, or maybe he is, I don't know. But the window's open when he said it'd be cool to see just the first 3 matches scheduled and then the last 2. I think it'd be kind of cool to see, like, at the end of match 2, announce match 4, at the end of match 3, announce match 5. And you can kind of move things along as you go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would just be a matter of them holding on to, that information until.
Yeah. Or the coaches are able to maybe announce it
live.
As we go. Yeah. Like a little post or something. Like they both flip it up at the same time.
Yeah. I don't know. I
It's
just
getting a little cheesy, but
yeah, whatever. So cool.
Brand Huckel. I don't know if I've said this right or wrong. That's not a bad idea. If you make the singles on the last day all double points, you can never win the cup in the first 3 days. or the chances that you've won the cup at the end of day 3 are almost zero.
That conversation is going to tilt me, so I'm going to.
But that almost takes away the whole idea that at the end of day 3 the cup is finished.
Well, I think we should have a golden buzzer too. Why don't we have a golden buzzer out there? That'll be fun.
If you double point the singles,
I'm being sarcastic, Ray. I hope you know that.
Drop an outlaw on both of you.
I don't think that's a terrible idea.
I mean, it's getting a little cheeky, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
It wouldn't benefit the U.S. because the U.S. loses every single.
Yeah, because you're shit at singles, but it still means that you can play 15 matches on the first 3 days. What's the chances that you're 10 points behind after 15 matches?
I don't know. Maybe it just happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, but
you think of that?
Okay, but you still play 5 matches a day. You don't shorten your days because you know there's still 10 points up for, or actually 12 points up for grab.
Jim, let's do some very, very, very simple math here. How many matches in total were played
14
this year? 14. And you want to do 15 matches in the end of day 3, and you're saying it's impossible
to
have it end on 3. It just happened. In fact, they had to have a bonus match. Like, we only had 14 matches.
Look back through history. How often has it happened?
It's happened twice in the last 4 years.
Then just get better.
Well, that would help, wouldn't it?
That's the ticket.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what we do. Nothing's going to work if we can't get past 3 after day 4, right? There is no solution at that point. There you go. Spot the U.S. 2 points a day. You want to piss off Ray in a hurry. Maybe we can. Maybe we can get spotted.
What does Fargo say? How many points are USA supposed to get based on Fargo?
Ray, feel free to jump out if you need to.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, guys, have a good one.
He's not leaving because he's mad. He's leaving because he has to. Although he might be mad too. I don't know what the solution is, Jimbo. I don't know what the solution is.
No, there is only one solution. Get the only one solution. Get
better.
Next year, try harder. And it's on home soil. The American fans will get behind them. It'll be, you saw that helped them last year. I think I don't hate the idea of Billy getting back in that team and keeping them engaged.
Let's ask a hard question. No, let's ask a really hard question, Jim. And this might ruffle some feathers. How many points do you think the U.S. has lost out on in the last 2 years due to scheduling? Due to
scheduling?
Picking the players. Like throwing out Earl Strickland three times on day 3 last year.
Due to errors made by Jeremy and
picking Fedor 3 matches straight on day 2. How many points do you think we've missed out on from that?
That's impossible to say, but he has, and again, Monday morning quarterback. Yeah, there's been obvious.
These things. The Earl Strickland on day 3 last year is not Monday morning quarterback. Everybody knows.
He wasn't supposed to be on day 3. He was supposed to be on day 2, but then they wouldn't change the order.
Sure, but Oscar played once that day. Earl still played twice.
They hid Oscar. Skyler hardly played at all the whole Mosconi Cup. But
I mean, these are scheduling things, right? I mean, these are the things that.
Well, you put your roster out to cover the entire tournament. He's not in the position. Jeremy's not in the position where he can just throw darts at a board, and that's going to be where he puts his players out. You don't think they're picking? You don't think they're not using Sky and Shane? Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. Jeremy's got to spread his good guys throughout the entire 3 days. He's got to spread them out. Or he just turns around and says, I'm going full throttle right from the start. If it doesn't work, then we're going to get absolutely pile drived. But he's got matches that he has to try and hide within there somewhere. I mean, that's just the way it is. Europe doesn't have any matches they have to hide because every pairing's a strong pairing. Every singles, you don't know who's going to play the best any day. You don't have one guy you're relying on. You know that if Filler has a bad day, Jason picks up the slack. If they both have a bad day, you've got Albin there. If they have a bad day, you've got the world champion there. You've got Jesus Christ. I mean, how many backup plans do you need in order to pick up points? The USA don't have that. So they've got partnerships and players that you kind of need to hide within there. And you've also got to spread your strength throughout the 3 days. Now, we've moaned and we've talked about the fact that the best pairing on paper is probably Sky and Shane, and they didn't actually play. Now,
Apparently
correct.
That's one you have to hide.
But correct, they didn't play. But he's also put them in a position where, you know, it's going to be an important match if the rest of the matches had gone the way they should have gone, or if people had done what they had meant to do. If Federer hadn't dogged it against Sanchez Ruiz, if Shane hadn't dogged it twice in the team match, you know, if a couple of other things had gone the way of the USA, then that would have become an important match at that time in the tournament. So it was in a spot where it could have been important, but it just didn't get that far. Now, it didn't get that far because of mistakes that were made earlier on, mainly in day one, you know? So he has to spread his strengths throughout the full 3 days. Otherwise, there's a spot where Europe just get a huge amount of momentum, potentially a huge amount of momentum, and they run away with it.
I just think that's so wrong.
You have to take your strengths and stick them spread out so that they'll stop any momentum.
I just think that's so wrong.
Team Europe. That's the only way I can look at it and think that must be what he was looking at. I need to put pillars in the roster every so often so that Europe don't get any momentum and we can win points back and stop the momentum.
It's so wrong, and it's so wrong in this sense. You can't. Those pillars are pillars if and only if they're engaged. If you're putting your team out there in a sense, if you're putting your team out there let's say every second match, you're going to have, you know, one of your pillar matches, as you're calling them. That means that you're basically losing every other match, no matter what. But you at a pretty high rate, you're losing every other match, and then you're expecting those pillars to say, all right, well, we just lost three of the last four matches. I guess or two of the last three matches. I got to go out there and get it done because I'm ready to go. No, the people who are then going out are the people who are saying, well, crap. What do I have to go out there for?
You know that Europe's going to come out strong.
So exactly. That's why you have to as well.
Do you? Do you put your strongest? If you're Jeremy, do you put your strongest couple up against Europe's strongest couple? I think that's suicidal.
You have
because one for one, they lose every single match. Europe's best couple beats USA's best couple.
One for one at 60.
Best couple beats USA's second best couple.
Sure, but it's only 50.
Every match then. Why not try and be tactical and put your weakest couples where you think Europe will put their strongest?
Because what you're saying, Europe is coming out with their strongest,
and then put pressure on them.
Sure, Europe is going to come out with their absolute strongest, right? They're going to come out with their absolute strongest. So yes. Can you, as the U.S., can you afford to go down 4-1, 4-0, 5-2? Can you afford to do that every single year and wait for later on to have a chance? No, because people are going to check out. They're not going to be engaged.
As long as you're aware it's a possibility, and as a team, you're saying this is a tactical maneuver that we know could happen. We're trying to pick off these points. We're going to put Shane Walford in the first singles because we know Filler's going to play it. Why would we put Sky? Why would we put one of our top guys in there against the best player in the world? Because we lose that guy's singles point. Sure. Why not put when Johan won for the first time, he put Tyler, a rookie, as the first singles on day one, and they were 2-0 behind, and Tyler beat Niels. That set the tone for the entire Mosconi Cup. And if he'd lost it, he'd say, well, we're 3-0 behind, but okay, Tyler's now played his singles, so now we've got all the strong ones coming afterwards. You know?
Sure. But what we're seeing is we cannot keep the team engaged long enough to be able to play that game. We can't go down 4-1 and still have an engaged team.
You can if you've had the discussions to say this is a possibility, but we're not going to panic if it happens, and we're going to keep going. You can if you've had that conversation.
I don't think we've done that. I don't think we can do that. I don't think
you can't have that. You can't have that conversation when you've put Sky out there and he gets murdered 5-0 and you've lost your best Mosconi Cup player for the last years. Has just lost 5-0 and sat in his chair for 25 minutes.
Sure. No, I agree with that. But it's also a thing where, like, I don't think that our team has the willpower to be able to fade that right now. Not with the way the last few years have gone. I don't think that the U.S. has the willpower to be able to fade through that.
If you can't get a coach to put that in, then you need new players.
Or you need a new coach, somebody who's going to keep this. Yeah, and I just don't. If you put out your absolute best lineup out there and you get smashed and you go into day 3 or you go into day 2 4-0 down, or you put your absolute worst team out there and you go into day down 0-4, I don't think that the room. I don't think that the atmosphere in that room behind the scenes is any different. I just don't. I don't think they were like, okay, well, it's okay that we just put out our sacrificial lambs. We got the rest of we're good to go from here. I just don't see being down 4-0 that the U.S. has enough fortitude in them after what's happened the last 3 to 4 years to be able to get to that point. I just don't see that. I don't see how they have that. I haven't seen any.
You might be completely right.
I haven't seen any evidence that says that the U.S. Since 2018 or 2019 that has enough. But maybe
Well, I've seen evidence since 2019. Just because they haven't won, it doesn't mean to say that they've not fought right till the end. I thought last year they fought right till the end. And considering they had Strickland in there, I think they did very, very well last year.
This is my exact point. Because going into day 3, we had, I believe, was it a 1-point lead or a 2-point lead or something like that? Yeah, that's my point. Is like get your team out there, make it a match going into day 3. Whatever happens at day 3, it's a lot easier to go out on day 3 with a less than ideal lineup and hope and give them the confidence to know that they're still in this no matter what, than going out on day 3 with your best lineup and being down 7-1.
But the difference is
having everybody feel hopeless.
If you're going out there on day 3. Okay, 7-1's a big difference. Let's say you're going out there on day 3 and you're 5-3 behind. If you've got your top guns all playing on day 3, you're still feeling good about being 5-3 behind. If you're 5-3 behind and all your top guns have already played their matches, then you're not feeling so good about it. If you're 5-3 behind and you've got the guys and this is your day where you're hiding players.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
You're hiding matchups.
But what I'm saying, if you're at 4-4, I think that you're better at 4-4 with a less than ideal lineup out there than 5-3 down with your best lineup.
That's the risk you take as Team USA, because at some stage you've got to hide partnerships and hide players, and it's where you do it, and doing it where it costs the least amount of damage, but also making sure that your top guys are getting the opportunity to actually win points. You don't want your top guys going up against their top guys when they're playing the way they did a couple of weeks ago, because you're getting nothing out of them. You need Filler to be beating Shane Walford 5-0, not beating Sky 5-0.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
But you also need Federer not to be missing 7 balls. You also need Shane not to be dogging 2 racks in a team match. You can talk about how much
either one of those
about not agreeing with the way that Germany put the teams out. Germany put the teams out there. But at the end of the day, the players are missing balls that they shouldn't be missing.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, if you miss balls you shouldn't be missing, you're going to lose, regardless of what your coach does.
Yep.
You're screwed.
Nope, I agree with that.
Miss balls the way they missed and win the Mosconi Cup. You just cannot, and you shouldn't.
Couldn't agree more.
You should, for the mistakes they made, they should get destroyed. They should get punished, and they should get pumped. And yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I think ultimately, what can you say? It comes down to it's never going to be a competition if you play the way that they did, right? Assuming Europe continues to play the way that they are, because Europe playing the way that they are, I don't think the U.S. ever has a chance. I don't think that there's a gear in the U.S. side.
Well, at the end of the day, this is the first time ever that the same team's gone out and defended. I don't see it happening again. To be fair, there'll be different players, at least one,
probably
maybe 2 European players in next year. So it's a different match again. Yeah. It's a different match again. As soon as a European rookie in there, the unknowns come into it again. It was always going to be tough for Team Europe. As soon as Ralph got the opportunity to pick the same team again, it's like, why would he not? It's like, well, great. The work's all been done for me last year. That was probably, out of all the Mosconi Cups, that was the toughest one for any team to try and win, because that was the same team coming back to defend. And they were all in form. They had won it last year. They knew each other. They were in sync with each other. They didn't really have to do much work. There was no egos. They knew exactly, what they did last year worked, so they just did exactly the same again. Yeah. That was the toughest Mosconi Cup for any team to try and win, and the easiest one that any team has ever had to prepare for.
And that's why there's like an APB out for Ralph Eckert because he just stole $40,000.
Well, he didn't steal it. He just didn't have to do anything to get it. But okay, I say, in my work as an air traffic controller, we get students that come in and they find it very difficult to just sit there and do nothing. And you have to tell them sometimes, if you've got nothing to do nothing. Don't look for stuff to do. And that's exactly what he did. He said, I've got nothing to do. I'll just do nothing. I'm not going to look for things to do. I'm not going to try and make myself look important I'm not going to get. He had no ego. He was quite happy to sit back and just say, guys, just keep doing what you're doing. It's brilliant. I'll sit here. I'll drink my tea. Great. I'll do the interview at the end of it. You all go and have your party. Brilliant. Cha-ching. I mean, yeah, if he'd try and get involved and try and make himself more important than he actually was, it might have gone wrong. So actually, he did do something right by doing nothing.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't
that's
try
the
and
thing,
fix
right?
it. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the thing. Well, I don't know.
I mean, we hard on USA, but that was it was a very tough ask for them to win that with the same team coming back again.
And with Josh and Albin and Jason, Jason,
and they were all playing well,
Yeah,
Jason was playing as good as he always manages to get himself in stroke just before Moscone. It's amazing. He always snaps off a big tournament just before Moscone. Albin got back into groove again in Hanoi. Filler was winning everything beforehand. Al-Qaedi qualified this time, didn't have to get a wild card. He wins the European, and Sanchez Ruiz probably, as far as performance goes, probably the weakest out of the five, but still played better than anyone in the US team. Yeah. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, he's still qualified, right? So, I don't know. Yeah. I guess let's. Anything else that you want to talk about? That's kind of
just one thing that Jackie Diamond said, just to answer a question here. She says, "How much of a hand do you feel Matchroom had in the lineups, especially last year and this year, since Earl was a viewership draw, as was Federer?" I don't think Federer was a viewership draw. I think Federer was in there. If you mean that he was only in because of getting viewerships, I don't think so. I don't think Matchroom had any hand in the lineups whatsoever. The whole fans' choice was taken away. That would be the only place where they could actually probably manipulate that if they chose to, because it's never really made transparent as to.
Unless you think that Emily's going to Ralph and or JJ and saying this is what your lineup's going to be for the
day. I don't think that's happening.
No,
I don't think Matchroom had anything whatsoever in the lineups. I think the lineups were transparent and it was all captains.
Do I think Matchroom had maybe a little bit of a hint at getting Earl in the Moscone Cup? Maybe.
Perhaps.
Do I think that they chose the lineups for JJ or
no.
Ralph? No way.
No chance.
No. In fact,
put it this way: if they had, then Federer would have played against Jason at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's if Matchroom had any hand in the lineups, then Federer would have played Jason.
They would. Yeah, they'd have been playing the first singles match, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay, well then let's leave it right there. I guess. Thanks everybody for tuning in again. Thank you again for our sponsors, and we'll tune off until next week.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for tuning in.